Getting user stories right is often challenging, especially for newcomers. So let's go through a set of guidelines called INVEST that was developed to help engineers and customers write effective user stories. So the first guideline in INVEST is independence. And what this means is that all the user stories should be independent from each other as much as possible. And the reason for this makes a lot of sense when you think about how you choose user stories from a global list of stories to be built. If you have a precedence order saying that we need to build this feature, then this feature, then this feature, then this feature, there's never any discussion about what your next feature to build is. So when you have independent stories, it gives a development team and customer much more flexibility to choose from a product backlog to make sure they select the right set of stories for an iteration. Next, we want to think about our stories in a way that makes them negotiable. If we can't negotiate about a story, we can't effectively choose whether or not we want to pursue that story in an iteration. So during the negotiation phase, what often ends up happening is extra features or extra detail is added to the user's story. So it needs to be possible to consider these user stories a work in progress where extra detail can be added as needed. Next, we want to make sure that the user story is actually providing a meaningful value for the product. And this gives us an opportunity to step back and think about the role, goal, benefit for a feature. So as we go through the development of a project, the value of different features will change over time. As the needs of the product change, as the customer's expectations or opinions change. So we need to be able to go back and really evaluate the value of a feature at the time that we're considering building it. Next, the feature should be estimable. That is, we need to be able to provide an effective costing for that feature. So if we can't provide a concrete, meaningful cost for the development of a feature, we need to step back and really add the extra detail that's required or break down that feature into a set of features that are more estimable. Right? So taking that time to make sure that we have a concrete and real understanding of those costs is really important. And this drives us at the next feature, which is small. It turns out in practice, small features are easier to estimate, they're easier to reason about the value for, they're easier to negotiate about, and they also tend to be more independent because they have smaller subsets of features within them. So user stories should be as small as possible to help drive these other features. And finally, we have testability. And this goes back to the definition of done for a story. We want to always make sure that our stories are testable so that both the customer and developer can make sure that the feature has been developed in a way that is agreeable to both parties. Right? So these guidelines really provide a framework that we can use as we go through and write our stories to make sure that they're more complete and more useful in practice.